All right. Algebra 1, on Wednesdays we wear pink. SWBA students will be able to solve equations by multiplying and dividing. So that's what we're going to work on today. So you guys might remember this, how we had an addition property of equality and a subtraction property of equality, saying if we had an equation that was true and we added or subtracted the same thing to both sides, it stayed true. Well, our multiplication property of equality is the same idea, but with multiplication, okay? What? No way, okay? So if an equation is true and each side is multiplied by the same number, the resulting equation is true. For example, for any numbers a, b, and c, if a is equal to b, then a times c is equal to b times c. A times c is equal to b times c. Now, you could also just write A, C next to each other, and that means they're multiplying, right? Or B and C next to each other, and that means they're multiplying, if you don't want to put the dots. Josh, give me a number. 7. Is it true that 7 equals 7? Yeah, I'd say that's probably true. Okay, Josh, give me another number. 8. So if I take 7 and I multiply it by 8, I do that on both sides of the equation. So I took my true equation, 7 equals 7, multiplying by the same number on both sides, 8. What's 7 times 8 on the left? 56. What's 7 times 8 on the right? 56. Does 56 equal 56?
Yes.
Yep, that's what the multiplication property of equality is saying. It's just that right there. We start with the true equation, multiply by the same thing. We still have a true equation. Question on that? Yes, Raquel.
So why would it be A times C and then do a different letter B times C?
Yep. It's just saying, that's fair. It's just saying that A and B happen to be the same here.
So like they're just the same number, but just different variables?
Yep. It's a fair question. Solve each equation and then check your solution. So what is happening to our variable s here in number 1? It's being divided by 12. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So to undo the division of 12, we're going to multiply by 12. Now, sometimes it's easiest for us to think of this as a 12 over a number. What number would that be? Over 1. You can put any number over 1. Why might it be easier for us to think of this as 12 over 1? Then you can use it as a fraction, okay? Now, if I multiply the left side by 12, what do I also have to do to the right to make sure I'm saying equal? Multiply by 12. Just like with addition and subtraction, we can't forget that. Now, is it okay that I call it 12 over 1 on one side and then 12 on the other? Yeah, totally. They're exactly the same thing. The over 1 really doesn't matter as far as what the number is. Now, what happens with the 12 on the top and the 12 on the bottom on the left-hand side? Okay, oh, I don't like that word. I'm going to be mean, okay? I don't like that word cancel, okay? That's not actually what happens mathematically. Cancel makes us think of it's going to 0, but it's not actually going to 0. They're reducing to what numbers? 1, okay? So they reduce or simplify to 1. So what's 1 times s on the top? 1s, or just s. Now, do we need to put that it's s over 1? Nah, let's just put s. Okay? Equals, what's 3 times 12? 36, so s is equal to 36. And now s is by itself. And we're done with the problem. But we can take our solution, right? Okay, last time I said, one thing I love about algebra is you can almost always check your solution to know if you got it right. So we plug it back in, 36 over 12 equals 3. And then we can check our solution, plug 36 back in for s. And now what is 36 divided by 12? 3. So does 3 equal 3? Check. It checked out. Bless you. I must rain down after I forget. Bless you. And bless the rains down in Africa. Lest we forget.
I was on your cost report page.
Oh, yeah. All right. That's a pretty lit page. Okay. Any question on number 1? All right. Number 2. 1.8 is equal to W over 2. 1.8 is equal to W over 2. I want you guys to try this one on your own. And when you have it or have questions, raise your hand. When you have it or have questions, raise your hand. All right, 1.8 is equal to W over 2. What's happening to our variable W? Being divided by 2. How do we undo that?
Multiplication.
Multiply by whatever is being divided by. So in this case, 2 or 2 over 1 if we prefer. Multiply both sides. What is 2 times 1.8? Okay, Courtney? 3.6. If we're struggling with that one, we can write it off to the side. Or you can say, what is 2 times 18 if we were to remove the decimal? 36, we might know that a little bit more. Maybe we know that. And we can put the decimal back in one spot and get 3.6. Now these 2's on the right side, they don't cancel, but they reduce or simplify. And we get 3.6 equal to W. Okay? And then we can go through and we can check our work. 1.8 equals 3.6 over 2. Now we might not know 3.6 over 2 off the top of our head. We could write that down on the side, or we could say what's 36 divided by 2. That maybe that helps us. And that would be 18. Put the decimal back in. 1.8 does equal 1.8. Questions on that one? Alrighty. Number 3, I want you guys to try that one on your own. N over 3 is equal to negative 2 over 5. Try it on your own. When you have it or have questions, raise your hand. So, N over 3 is equal to negative 2 over 5. What do we do? Multiply by 3 because we're dividing by 3 or 3 over 1 on both sides. Now on this right side, it might be helpful for us to call it 3 over 1 again, right? Because we have a fraction. On the left side, what's 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom going to do? Simplify or reduce, and we get N. On the right-hand side, do we need common denominators for multiplying? No, we don't, okay? Even if we do, we could still get the right answer, but we don't need common denominators. We can multiply straight across. We can look to cross simplify, but there's nothing there we can simplify. Nothing goes into 5 and 3. So we do negative 2 times 3 is? Negative 6 over 5 times 1. Negative 6 over 5 is our answer. Now, if you wanted to leave that as a mixed number, you could, and call it negative 1 and 1/5, or a decimal and get it negative 1.2. But I'm perfectly okay with negative 6 over 5, okay? Courtney?
No.
Okay. Elijah, do you have a question?
Never mind. I see that as like a negative.
Yes. Negative start with. Any other questions? Okay. Continuing on. So right below this, it says, if there is a fraction in front of the variable, then multiply it by the reciprocal to isolate the variable. What's a reciprocal? The flipped version. Okay, you guys might know it as the reciprocal. You guys might know it as the reciprocal. So on number 1, 3/5 k is equal to 6. Is there a fraction in front of the variable? Yeah, so what's it say to do? Multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by what? 5 over 3. And once again, we have to do both sides by 5 over 3. So on the left-hand side, the 5 on the top and the 5 on the bottom can reduce, can't they? Yeah, to 1. And those 3's can reduce as well. So what are we left with on the left-hand side? K. That's why we did that. We wanted K to be by itself, okay? Looks like a what?
It's a cursive K.
Yeah, people tell me my K's are weird. That's how I've just always written them since I was little, sorry. Okay? People always talk trash on my K's, saying that's not how you write K's. But it's a K. It's a lowercase K. It's a K, okay? Anyway, quit talking trash on my K's. R now. Okay.
His false name.
Ah. So on the right-hand side, it might be helpful for us to put 6 over what? 1. Now, can we simplify anything before we get ahead of ourselves? Totally. What can we simplify? 6 and 3. What goes into both 6 and 3? 3. 3 goes into 6 how many times? 2. And it goes into 3 how many times? 1. So we have 2 times 5 is? 10.
I got it a different way.
10 over 1, right? Okay. Abby, did you do 30 over 3 and then simplify?
I got 30 over 3.
Okay, if you didn't simplify right away and you got 30 over 3, you did 6 times 5 and got 30.
And then simplified.
Did you get common denominators?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
look at this.
Did you put them both over 3? Did you call this one 18 over 3? Yeah, you can do that. You don't have to. You're creating more work for yourself. But you can do that.
My 90.
Okay? So heads up, guys. You can get the same answer. Voice is off. You can get the same. Thank you. You can get the same answer if you went and did 6 times 5 and got 30, and 1 times 3 and got 3 and did 30 over 3, and then simplify. But the numbers end up getting bigger that way. So if you simplify early, you end up working with smaller numbers. Now, numbers like 30 and 3, it might not be a concern for us. But when we get into numbers later on, it's going to be really handy if we catch simplifying early, okay? So it's always a good idea to catch simplifying early when you're multiplying. Questions on that? What I mean by simplifying early. All right, let's look at number 2. Negative 1/4 is equal to 2/3 b. Is there a fraction in front of the variable again? Yeah, so what's it say to do? Multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, go ahead and do this now on your own. When you have it or have questions, raise your hand. Okay, 2/3, okay? So what are we told to do when we have a fraction in front of the variable? Times by the reciprocal. What is the reciprocal of 2/3? 3/2. Now we're going to multiply this side by 3/2. What else do we have to do now?
You have to do this other side.
To the other side, we got to keep it equal, right? 3/2. Now, we can start off on either side. Let's start off with our right side, though, just to make sure we're doing the right thing with our variables here. So this 2 and this 2, one's on the top, one's on the bottom. Can we reduce those? On the right-hand side, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. Can we reduce those? Yeah, they both go to 1 because 2 goes into 2 once, and it goes into 2 once. Now those 3's, one's on the bottom, one's on the top. Can they reduce?
Yes.
Yes. 3 goes into them once and once. So we end up with 1b times 1, so just b over 1, so b. On the left-hand side, can we simplify this 3 and this 4? No. Or the 2 and the 1?
No.
Can we simplify straight across and do the 2 and the 4?
Yeah.
No, you cannot simplify straight across, but we can multiply now. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 3/8 is equal to b. Courtney, what's up?
The one where you said simplifying on with the kind of variable, isn't that kind of like a waste of time since you already know it's going to cancel out?
So you don't have to go through and do all these slashes if you don't want. It could be considered a waste of time, but for now, as I'm teaching this for the first time, I'm going through the actual steps each individual time. Later on, I don't walk through each of these steps and say it goes to 1, goes to 1, goes to 1, goes to 1. I just say, okay, we multiply by this, everything reduces, so we're left with b. That's all I'll say in the future, but for the first few times as we're learning it, and as we're going through it, I'm going to say it each and every time, just to make sure that we're all following each individual step. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great question. Abby, did you have a question, or are you just kind of stretching and hanging out?
I'm just like,
Just chilling and vibing, okay? Any other questions on number 2, okay? If you're struggling, I want to know now rather than later, preferably, okay? Just so I can help you earlier. Okay, let's look at number 3. Is number 3 decently similar? Yeah, but what's different?
It has a whole number.
It has a whole number. We have a mixed number there, don't we? Okay, so what can we do with that mixed number to make this into a fraction? Okay, multiply the whole number times the denominator and add it to the numerator. So negative 1 3/8. Well, what's 1 times 8? 8 plus 3 is 11. So it's negative 11 over 8k is equal to 2 over 3. Now does this look very similar to what we had in number 2?
yeah.
Yeah, I want you guys to go ahead and finish this one off. Finish off number 3. When you have it or have questions, raise your hand. Talking about this one up here now. So what fraction is with our variable k? Negative 11 over 8. So I have to multiply by the reciprocal. Negative 8 over 11, or 8 over negative 11. It really doesn't matter where my negative sign is, guys. Okay? Because what's going to happen with the negative times the negative?
Positive.
Positive either way. 8 and 8 reduce, right? To 1. 11 and 11 reduce to 1. So we're just left with k. That's what we want. It's like you typed out a long text message and someone hits you back. Okay. Okay. On the right-hand side, can you reduce anything? Can the 2 and the 11 reduce diagonally here? No. Can the 3 and the 8 reduce? No. What's 2 times negative 8? 16. Negative 16. Over 3 times 11? 33. And that is our answer. Negative 16 over 33. We can't reduce that either.
So it would be the same
Oh.
if we put the 33 as a negative? Or would it-
Yep. Yeah, great question. So Abby was asking, hey, Mr. Costle, I hear you're pretty good at math. I'm like, oh, thanks, Abby. Okay, I also hear you're pretty cool. Oh, thanks, Abby. Okay, very nice too, okay? She said all this just now in case you didn't hear, okay? And she's like, is it the same if I put the negative on the bottom? If I do 16 over negative 33? Totally the same, okay? So that'd be the same as that. Or you could do, that'd be the same as putting the negative out in front. Okay, putting the negative more out in front. that'd be the same as well. Okay, whether the negative's on the top, the bottom, or out in front, we don't care. The fraction as a whole is negative. Any other questions on this problem? Gucci. Now we're going to move to division, okay? So, go ahead and flip our page over. We're going to solve using division, okay? We got a little bit of time left here. We're going to finish these off. If an equation is true and each side is divided by the same non-zero number, the resulting equation is true. We just can't divide by 0 because that breaks math. So for any numbers a, b, and c, if a is equal to b, so we have a true equation, then we can take a divided by c, and it'd be equal to b divided by c. We can divide by the same thing on both sides. Ellie, do you want to give me a number? 12. Cool beans. So 12 is equal to 12. Now if I take this and I say, okay, my true equation, I'm going to divide by the same thing on both sides. 12 divided by what, Jack? 1. Cool. If I take 12 divided by 1 and 12 divided by 1, I still get 12 on both sides, don't I? So because I divided by the same exact number on both sides, I still have a true equation. If I divided one side of the equation by 1, the other side by 2, I wouldn't have a true equation. But divided by the same thing, we still have a true equation. Questions on that? So on example 1 here, 11w is equal to 143. What's happening with w? Multiplying by 11. How do we undo multiplication? You divide. So we're going to divide by whatever number is there, 11. Because what's 11 divided by itself? 1. And what's 1 times w? Just w. So do we even have to write that 1 there? No, that's what we wanted. We wanted to get w by itself. So this is how we get w by itself. We divide by whatever's there. And we do it on both sides because we have to keep it equal. 143 divided by 11. We might not know that off the top of our head. That's okay. 143 divided by 11. Let's do it off to the side. How many times does 11 go into 14? 1. It doesn't go into 1, though. We get 33. How many times does 11 go into 33? 3. So it ends up being 13. Can we always go back and check our work? Yep, I'm not going to make you, though. Bless you and bless the rains on Africa, lest we forget. Questions on number 1? Okay. Let's look at number 2. Negative 8x is equal to 96. Negative 8x is equal to 96. Okay. Well, Jaden, what's happening with our variable x? It's being multiplied by negative 8. How do we undo multiplication, guys? Division, okay? So what are we going to divide by here? Negative 8. We divide by exactly whatever's there. Okay, here's why we divide by negative. What's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. So if we divided by a positive, though, we'd end up with a negative number. And we don't want to end up with a negative x. We want to end up with a positive x. So negative 8 divided by negative 8 is just 1. So 1x or just x. Divide the other side by negative 8. 96 divided by negative 8. 12, but what kind?
Negative.
It's going to be a negative 12. If we don't know that, we can always do that off to the side as well. We can double check our work by saying, oh, negative 8 times negative 12? That would be positive 96. Questions on that one? Okay, on this last one, don't let the decimal intimidate us. Negative 0.42 is equal to negative 3s. Well, what's happening with our variable s here, Ava? Multiplied by negative 3. How do we undo the multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. Left-hand side, a negative divided by a negative will be a positive. We're going to end up with a positive. 0.42 divided by 3. If we don't know how to do that, right off the side, 0.42 divided by 3. We don't have to move the decimal because it's inside the house, inside the little dog house there, but we can move the decimal straight up. Does 3 go into 0? Nope. Does it go into 4? Once. And we end up with 1. Does 3 go into 12 now? 4 times, and we get 12. So our answer here is 0.14 or 0.14. And those negative 3's on the right-hand side simplify to 1, so we're just left with s. So you have 0.14 is equal to s. Another way you could have done that division, maybe, and this might assist you, is saying, okay, 0.42. Well, does anyone know 42 divided by 3? Maybe you know that's 14, maybe not. Okay, if you do, you just have to say, okay, 0.42, 42, I moved the decimal 2 spots. So to get 14, I have to move the decimal back 2 spots to get 0.14. I don't know if that made sense or not. That make sense? A little bit. Okay. Questions on those three. I know we kind of sped through those questions on those three. Alrighty. Write an equation for the problem below, then solve the equation. Negative 14 times a number equals 224. Negative 14 times a number equals 224. I want you guys to try writing that equation real quick. Okay, Jack's going to tell me what he has. Jack, go ahead.
Negative 14x equals 224.
Awesome. Negative 14x equals 224. Could we have used a different variable than x? Yeah. Sure, but we can also use x. Okay, any questions on why this is the equation? Okay, how do we solve this? Courtney.
You divide negative 14.
Okay, divide by negative 14 on both sides.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side, negative 14 divided by itself, that's 1. So we just start this left with x. On the right-hand side, 224 divided by negative 14. Well, we know it's going to be what kind of number? Negative, because a positive divided by a negative. We might not know 224 divided by 14. Most people probably don't. I don't know it off the top of my head unless I think about it. Does 14 go into 2? Nope, but it goes into 22 how many times? Once. Subtract 22 by 14, we get 8. 14 into 84. Well, we want to get that 4 at the end of 14 to look like this 4 at the end of 84 if we can. So 4 times what number would end in 4?
6.
6. Let's try 6 out, okay? Well, if I take 6 times 14, okay, I'll do it up here. 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, 6 times 1 is? Plus 2. Hey, it did work out. 84 minus 84 is 0. So x is equal to negative 16. Questions on that? All right, I'm going to pass out your homework today, okay? And because I'm a big meanie head, I give out homework. And there's actually no don't do's on this one today.